Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, this is Jennie Walker from Closet Conversations. I am here with part 2 of my pivot from consignment shop to celebrity styling and rental, because I finally remembered what I was going to tell you about this Spanx lady. So I thought, let me get that out there because it was so good and talk a little more about this. So my first part 2. The lady from Spanx, the founder, had said one of the things that she did when she was organizing her ideas around a company is she didn't tell anybody. And she didn't ask. She says, I found that by not telling anybody what I was doing or thinking, it avoided all of the naysaying that would come with that. So basically people have a lot of opinions, a lot of thoughts about what other people do, right? So she said it was one of her secret moves that she did, was she basically just said something really generic. She's going to, looking to found a company, blah, blah, blah. She did it. She slogged it out. She didn't tell anybody about anything she was doing until just the right moment. And she said it avoided all of the pushback she would have gotten from everyone around her, or most people around her, and that was important. And so one of the things that I did in making this decision to close my consignment shop and move into celebrity styling and rental was I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my family. And this is something else. I did not tell a soul in my family, not one person, until it was done. And until in other words, I'm about to sign a contract. And then even then I told one person. And then I didn't tell any of the family, and they started calling me and they're like, I see on Instagram something's going on in your store. I had already saw my sister, I didn't tell her. I'd signed the contract, we're doing clearance sales, we're doing, she's like, what is going on with you? I didn't tell anybody. And I think that was really important, because I had to kind of go inside and figure out in my own mind the pros and cons of what I was going to do. And I only saw the pros far outweighed the cons. And, it changes, before, owning my own store and my business partner having left and retired and just me, and pretty much I'm in power over my own domain. Every decision is mine. I can do it. You have creative control, basically. And creative control, there's a lot to be said about that. Trust me. And, I made a lot of decisions and did a lot of things that I wanted to do previously, and I really didn't have the ability to do because of pushback, and was able to do that. And so here, I just didn't tell anybody. And I found that that's a lot more powerful to do that, not only for your own self. It helps you figure it out. It helps you avoid pushback. I'm not saying people shouldn't seek advice if they feel they need it, but I didn't think I needed it. I mean, I told my best friend, was basically the only person I talked to, my very best friend, and that was it. And even with her, I basically said, I'm thinking about X. And then the next time I talked to her, I said, I'm doing Y. There was no conversation, because I had already thought so many years and so long about what would be a way to get on a more elevated side of vintage and reselling. And for so long, I'd already thought it through, and this just made sense to me. And I was in a position to make it happen. And so I just wanted to make that point, because I think a lot of times we can be swayed by other people's opinions, where it goes against our gut. Again, didn't have anyone that needed to be consulted other than my bank account, right? Can I afford to do this? I did tell my former business partner, because I wanted him to know the minute I had signed my letter to tell my landlord I was giving up my lease. As a matter of fact, I stalked him until I said, you have to hear this from me. You can't hear it from anyone else. As a courtesy and out of respect for him, I said, you have to know that I'm doing this. So I told him the minute I wrote the letter and handed it into my landlord to give up my space, is I made sure my business partner knew. And he had a lot of questions nonetheless, and we went out and talked about it over dinner and drinks. But he understood what I was doing and was very supportive, and was so lovely. And this is one of the most exciting things that happened to me in all of this is my former business partner was so supportive of the move. He provided all kinds of mental help, personal support, financial support, everything you can think of to make sure that my move was successful and that the chapter that this business that we had started in that chapter in our lives was wound up in the most professional and profound way. And that was unexpected, something that he offered. I will be forever grateful, and I really think very highly of him for taking and making that part in his own mind to be a part of the closing down of the store and our experience there in the 6 years that we had there and things like that. So that was pretty incredible, and I'll always be appreciative for that. So I just wanted to mention that. So there's a lot of ways to make decisions. I really went within. I made a very quick decision, very quick, because it just seemed like an obvious next step for me since I was already renting, and the Vintage Mosquito was renting. People were seeing it. They were starting to get excited about it. I could see things were happening. The owner of Clothes Rentals, Jordan Grossman, had been delivering on everything that she said. It just made perfect sense to go in with her in this space and make that happen together. So I just wanted to make that point to you and add a little more to the story. And there's so much more to the story, but you don't need to know all that. All I know is that a big decision was made, and I have completely pivoted, and everything I've learned and everything that I know about consignment will only be of benefit in this new environment. And I think the consignment rental hybrid model is super unique, and I'm pretty sure that's not anything too many people are doing in terms of that, because these rental houses, some of the rental houses are, my understanding is they do take things in on consignment and rent for people. I mean, that's really how it works. But the difference is I'm also selling. And so to be able to offer that as a consignment shop, these two options together is something I'm glad to be an early part of, because pretty sure if it's going to work here, it'll work for other people who will probably get into that. So the good news is that Miss Grossman has all those wonderful celebrity and stylist contacts, and her reach is very far and wide. And so as soon as we're ready, she'll be able to open up the floodgates for people to come in there and see what we have. So that's it. Just a little part 2 here, so I can finish my thoughts. I appreciate you listening. If you haven't listened to part 1, please listen to why I closed my consignment shop to pivot into celebrity styling and rental for all of the first things before this. This is a part 2, and unfortunately I just had a brain freeze when I was trying to make my point earlier about how I made this decision and keeping it super quiet and close to the vest. And I know over in my life, there are a number of things that did not pan out that I talked about too soon. And so I have learned from that, and I say very little now before it happens and say things when it happens or after it's happened. And so that seems to be working well for me. And that's it. This is Jennie Walker from Closet Conversations. If you'd like to be in touch, you can find me on Instagram at JennieGirl's Closet, and I look forward to having you with me on a future episode.